So, Roma this season have been diabolical. They're in the bottom half of the table. They've had an absolute shocking start to the season. So, Roma this season have been diabolical. They're in the bottom half of the table. They've had an absolute shocking start to the season. They've gone through Jose Mourinho in the year of 2024 alone. So, Jose Mourinho got sacked in January 2024. Daniele De Rossi took over and finished sixth, got to the semi-final of the Europa League last season, got knocked out by Bayer Leverkusen, who had this wonderful season, but came to an end to lose to Atalanta in the Europa League. In the end, for Serie A last season, Roma ran out of gas and won only I think it was 2 out of the last 6 or 7 games, which was against Udinese in the rearranged game after the Evan and Dicker incident, where he went down. I think it was collapsed ribs when he got elbowed in the ribs. People thought he had a heart attack, but it was that was dismissed straight away. But yeah, and then this season, Roma had 2 points from 4 games. Sacked Daniele De Rossi. Even Juric came in. He was sacked after the Bologna defeat, and the gentleman came back, Claudio Ranieri. So Juric lasted 12 games. He had a good start with 2 wins and 1 draw against Udinese, and they beat Venezia, and then they drew with Athletic Club, but then they lost away in the Europa League to Augsburg. Struggled against Inter, lost at home 1-0. Struggled away against Fiorentina. They got battered 5-1, and it could have been even worse. They lost at home to, who else did they lose at home to? Inter. They lost at home to Bologna. They lost away at Hellas Verona, and they managed just to scrape past Torino. They struggled in Europe as well, but it's not been a great season. The president and his son, the freaking group, who are looking to take over at Everton. They've got a lot of bad press in Italy. There's been banners of Yankee go home. It's been toxic. I was hoping to go to the game on Thursday, but I'm going on holiday to Portugal in the weekend, so it would have been a costly trip. So Roma have had a really, really, really poor start to the season. Ranieri came in. They looked better against Napoli. They lost 1-0. Romelu Lukaku scored right at the start of the second half. Mats Hummels, it was hard for him because Hummels just came on. It was his second substitute appearance of the season. He got discarded under Juric and just didn't play. Juric wanted to play Brian Cristante, who's a midfielder in defence. It just wasn't. It just. I could swear a lot about Roma's start to the season, but against Napoli, they played a lot better. So he switched to a 3-5-2. They looked more compact, more comfortable on the ball, and had their chances. But Lukaku scored, but he could have been sent off in the first half. 2 poor challenges, one on Miles Vila, who's the Belgian goalkeeper, and he left one in on Zeki Celik, which was a nasty challenge. Evidently, he got sent off against Fiorentina for Roma last season for the same challenge he put on Zeki Celik. But if I speak, I'm in trouble. On Ranieri, I think it's a solid appointment. He knows the club inside out. He's been at Roma for his 3rd stint, and hopefully, fingers crossed, his previous 2 was quite good. He almost won the league in 2009, 2010, but that was against Jose Mourinho's Inter, and they won the treble that season and beat Roma in the league and in the Coppa Italia final, and then he lost the job in February 2011 after losing 4-3 to Genoa. And then the second time was in March 2019 when he took over Eusebio Di Francesco. Monchi left as well in the same window. He took Roma to 6. So, and then Paulo Fonseca, who's now the AC Milan coach, took over, and then we got Jose, and then the rest is what happened. But I'm confident of what happens with Claudio Ranieri. He knows the club. He's a Roma fan, and I'm hoping it's not a PR stunt, but deep down inside, I think it is a PR stunt just to appease the fans. So the first 3 games of his tenure is quite hard because he had Napoli away on Sunday, and then I played Tottenham in the Europa League, who just beat Manchester City after losing to Ipswich just before the international break. And then they got Atalanta at home on Monday night, and Atalanta are flying under Gasperini. I want to say Roma fans feeling confident going into the Tottenham game. Football is a funny thing. I know the term Spursy has happened quite a lot. I do follow the Premier League as living in the UK. The term Spursy comes a lot. And after beating Ipswich and then losing to Ipswich and then beating Manchester City, and then you play Roma, who has been quite poor recently. I'm quite confident that Roma could get something. As long as the game is 0-0 for a long while, I'm quietly confident. But I just don't want Roma to disgrace themselves. There's a lot of fans probably traveling from all around the world to go to the lovely stadium that is holds about 60,000, a wonderful stadium at the new Tottenham Stadium. And I'm confident-ish. I think Roma could get a draw out of it. A draw won't be the baddest result. I just don't want them to get hammered. Football's a funny thing, and it's a funny sport. I'm a cricket fan, and there is karma and funny things happen in both of them. Roma in the Europa League is a different kettle of fish. Athletic Club at home was a 1-1 draw. They started well, and then in the last 20 minutes they sat further deep, and then Athletic Club got them on a set piece with a ball into the box, headed back to Kevin Paredes, who headed home from close range. I think probably they looked a little bit tired after going through a treacherous week beforehand with the Rossi sack and stuff. Then they travelled to Augsburg and got beat 1-0. They struggled to break down Oscar Hielmark's team against 10. They stuck 10 men behind the ball, and they really struggled. You can see the penalty just before half time. And never really contributed anything into the game. I missed the Dynamo Kiev game. They won 1-0. Dovbyk scored a penalty. I was actually in Barcelona on holiday with my mum, and evidently that was the same week where Barcelona beat Bayern Munich, so I missed that game. And against Union Saint-Gilloise, it was pretty much the end of Ivan Juric's tenure. They drew 1-1. Mancini scored with a header, and then Alexis McAllister's brother, Kevin, wonderful name, and one of his parents watched Home Alone, scored with a close range header. It was pretty much the dying embers of Juric's reign. They conceded a lot of goals from set pieces. They struggled with balls in the box, and yeah, I think that was the second or third goal in 2 games where they conceded from set pieces, and they never really got back into it. They just laboured, to a 1-1 draw, and didn't really look threatening in the second after conceding the goal. They just played quite poorly, and evidently it was even Juric's last European game in charge. Tottenham, I've seen a little bit. I like Ange Postecoglou. I like what he did at at Celtic, and I think he's probably the right man to take Tottenham forward. I love watching Maddison play, and Son. Son is brilliant. I missed the game against Man City because I was coming back from the Swindon Morecambe game, and I got food in Swindon and enjoyed the lovely weather that everyone was probably enjoying. But seeing someone tear Kyle Walker apart was quite an enjoyable watch. So Timo Werner, I think was it for the second or one of the last goals, just absolutely put the afterburners and tore them to shreds. Spurs are either hit and miss, and I said the term Spursy because I watched Spurs' under-21 team a couple of weeks ago against Swindon. Played Swindon off the park in the Bristol Street Motors competition. Was 1-0 up, and then Swindon won the game 2-1. But I do like what Ange is doing, and it's a big loss losing Vicario because I really rated him when he was at Empoli. He's a really, really good goalkeeper. And I know a lot of pundits on quite a lot of podcasts were like, oh, who's this guy? He's not really a Tottenham goalkeeper. But if you watch Serie A for what he did with Empoli, he's a really, really good keeper, a really good shot stopper. When he was at Empoli against Roma, that triple save went viral where he denied Tammy Abraham, I think, Paulo Dybala for one or two shots. But I'm intrigued to see what happens because Tottenham at home could be Tottenham are at home, against a struggling team. It will worry me, but I've been really impressed with what Ange has done. I think he's brought his philosophy in how to play football, and it's a really good watch. Sorry, Chris sent me about 10 questions. Who are my favourites to win the competition, and do you like the new format? I like the new format because I think it gives anyone a chance to win at all costs, like you see in the Champions League. Brest. Look at Brest in the Champions League. Stade de Brest. They're doing really well. Sporting beating Man City. Anyone's got a chance. Europa League. Oh, that's a very good question. Who are my favourites to win the Europa League? Oh, bloody hell. Do you know what? Oh, bloody hell. That's a hard. I like, no, it's going to pain me to say this, but I think Lazio have had a really good start. As a Roma fan, I think Lazio have done really well. And they've won all 4 of their games. Tottenham, I think, will be up there. If Roma gets scraped through, they've always got a chance in Europe. But I'm going to say Spurs. I'm sorry. But don't be surprised with Lazio. They're looking very, very good at the moment. And then if I take a look, I'm probably waffling. I will go on to the next question that Chris sent me, and I'll go back to see if any more teams will come into my mind. I think Roma will go into the game with a strong 11. I think Ranieri will play the best players that he has available to fit the tactical structure he wants to play. I think he said he wants to take it game by game. So in the first half against Napoli, he played like a 4-4-1-1 with Pellegrini next to Artem Dovbyk, with Nicolo Pisili on the left and Stefan El-Shaarawy on the right. I think Roma will go with a strong side. I've heard that Paulo Dybala probably will feature. He's missed quite a few games recently due to injury and muscle fatigue. So I think Ranieri will have a strongish team. I think you will see the likes of Enzo Lefebvre, Manu Kone, who's really impressed since he joined from Borussia Mönchengladbach, Evan Ndicka, Gianluca Mancini, maybe Mats Hummels if Ranieri decides to go with a back 3. So I think Ranieri will probably put out his strongest team. And the standout players for Roma probably is Manu Kone and Evan Ndicka. And if Paulo Dybala is fit, raring to go, he will be on there. But I will talk about Manu Kone and also about Evan Ndicka, who Manu Kone signed from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Is probably Daniel De Rossi's last signing, which was made on the transfer deadline day. He's a box-to-box midfielder. Really, really, really talented player. Played well for France in the Olympics. Played well for France against Italy in the Nations League. That's just happened. Evan Ndicka has been ever present after signing from Eintracht Frankfurt last summer 2023. Yes, correct, because he signed with Husam while he's now left to go to Middle East. And Paulo Dybala, he's always got something in his locker. When he's 75-80% fit, hopefully he can link up well with Artem Dovbyk. So they're the 3 key players to watch out for. And for a scoreline, I'm gonna say 1-1, and I'll be absolutely content with a 1-1 draw. But it's like a heart versus head. I think if Spurs score first, they'll win the game. As long as but I think if this game goes as long as it does, if it's level, I think it will end in a draw. But I'll take 1-1, but a part of me thinks that Spurs will win. And I think Roma will probably be happy with that, because travelling to the UK, with all the UK media and with all the kerfuffle that's happened to the club after all, and it's just an interesting way of what's going on with the club at the moment, because I support 2 basket case clubs and it's quite painful to watch. But no, that's with me. Thank you to Chris for sending me a DM and sending me a links, a link of all the questions to send. I'm going to fire this over to him. You can follow me on Twitter at Scot_Munroe. Scott is with 1 T and Munroe is Munroe. You can follow Le Magicast at Le Magicast on social media. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the game on Thursday. Forza Roma. Ciao, ciao.